Hey, OneLife, we are in the middle of a series called This Is How We Do It. And so we're covering 4 C's. And the first week was communing with God. The second week was conforming to become like Jesus. And it's my intention that we give you specific practices to engage in on daily and weekly rhythms in order to commune with God more deeply, in order to conform into becoming more like Jesus. And so last Sunday I talked about conforming to become more like Jesus. I want to give you a practice that I believe will help you in that endeavor to become more like Jesus. I talked about it on Sunday, and that is the Prayer of Examen. Now, I've heard more and more people talk about it lately, and I have been greatly benefited by this practice. And what it is you take about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of your day and you reflect. You invite God to come into the moment, and you really have a conversation with God, and you reflect on your day. So there's 4 R's. And the first is reflection. So reflect, and you think about your day from beginning to end. You think about the good things and the bad things. You think about how you felt throughout the day. What caused you to respond in joy, and what caused you to respond maybe in frustration or anger, or what caused anxiety and worry. And you reflect on the day. And then you move to the second R, and that's to rejoice. And you think about the things that were evidently God's grace on that moment. Either God working in your life, or someone expressing grace to you, someone else serving you, or something unexpectedly happen and you experience God's grace. That should naturally cause us to rejoice and turn to God and just thank Him for what has happened throughout the day. As I reflected at the end of the year on 2020, 2020 we all agree was a bad year, but as I reflected, I was able to point out very clear and specific moments where God showed Himself and was gracious to me, to our church, in very real and substantial ways. I can look back at 2020 and rejoice. And so we want to do that each day. And then the third R is that we repent. If there's moments in our day where we engaged in thoughts that we know weren't pleasing to God, or engaged in reactions that weren't consistent with the character of Jesus, that we acknowledge those, that we call them for what they are, and we don't allow ourselves to be crushed with condemnation or shame, but we just acknowledge them before God and just repent of them. Say, God, my heart was wrong in this moment, and I thought wrong thoughts about this other person in the moment, and just acknowledge those things and repent, and then receive God's grace in the moment. This isn't about beating yourself up. And then the 4th R is to resolve, and this is where we kind of stop looking at the present day and we look forward towards tomorrow. And if there's things that in your conversation with God that are brought to light, it's like things that you know you want to go into tomorrow by God's grace doing specific things. Well, this is where you make those resolves. Last night as I did this, I was so amazed at God's presence as I reflected on the day. I was so amazed at God's presence just being with me, tangibly helping me throughout the day. And yesterday was a sweet day for me. And so what I resolved last night was, man, God, I want to be aware of your presence today like I was yesterday. That's what I resolved to do. And so your resolution could be different, maybe not to be so easily angered at your kids or situation or whatever it may be. And then that's it. You thank God for His grace. You thank God that He communed with you in the moment, and then you go to bed aware of God's presence with you. His grace is always extended to you. It's a very helpful practice, and I love us as a community to have this shared practice and then begin to share with one another what these actually are. So God bless you guys.